Alright, what up Blockchain Nation? Today we're going to solve an interesting problem on LeetCode. It's called the Sudoku solver. So we have to determine if a 9x9 board, Sudoku board is valid. One of the field cells needs to be validated according to the following rules. Let's look at the rules. So each column, each row must contain the digits 1 to 9 without repetition. Otherwise, if it has a space, you can see it's fine. So each column must also contain these 1 to 9 without repetition. So what that means, if we had 5, 3, and another 3 here, this will not be a valid board. Or if we even had a 3 over here, it will also not be a valid board. Or if we had a 7 here, because there's a 7 here. Or even if we had a 5 here, in any of the columns, that will be a valid board. So each column must also contain digits 1 to 9 without repetition. So the same way in each row, you can have, when you trace a row, you can have repetition. And also, when you go through each column as well, you can have repetition. And what makes it even more complicated was each of the 9 3x3 sub boxes of the grid must contain digits 1 to 9 without repetition. So that means in this grid here, as you can see, so we have 9, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is one grid, this one, where the 5 and 8 is. This is in the grid. So each of the sub boxes of the grid, the sub boxes must contain 1 to 9. So in this example, this is a valid board. As you can see, we have 5, 3. This is just an illustration of what this will look like. And also, this is false. Why this is false is that there's an 8 here, and there's an 8 here. So which means we replace, if I change this 5 to an 8, this 5 right here becomes an 8, then we have 2 8s in this sub box. It's not a valid board. So that's pretty much it. We have to see if this is true or false. So it just has to check when it has an input. This is what the input will look like. And as you can see, this is the same similar inputs. Given the input, is it a valid board or not? So in this case, as mentioned, this is a valid board, which is this. But this one is not a valid board because of this 8 here. Same thing, if I was to come here and I put an 8 here, this is not a valid board because this 8 and 8 in this sub box is wrong. Also, if I had a 1 here in this row, it would be wrong. And if I check each of these columns, 6, 9, 5, and I put a 5 here, it's wrong. Or yeah. So that's pretty much it. So let's see what does this look like. Let's take this. Let's get to my favorite editor, which is. So this is our Sudoku board. The first thing we need to do is how we'll solve this. We know that something that they told us is that where is it? Is a 9x9 Sudoku board. So we know that n is 9, which is 9. In the entirety, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 9 rows and we have 9 columns. And within each box, we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 cells. So we can just have a value that we just find as n, which is 9. And then the next thing we need to do is, like our hash sets, which we use to compare to be sure that the values don't exist, we'll define what that will be. So we have to find one for all the rows. We have to define that one for all the columns. We'll have to define that for all the boxes. And then we'll see what that looks like. So that will mean we create a set. And then say for in range n. So we'll do this for everybody, for our rows, for our columns, and for our boxes. I think this looks good. All right. So what do we do? So we go through each row. We say for r in range of n, and also for every column in range of n as well. This is like we would say going through each of this. We take the value, whatever value that we're in. Take the value. So say our value will be what we pass into our board for ij. So that means that we are currently going to be, if only I can write properly, ij. So board ij, board, sorry, not ij, R and C is what we're specifying, rows and columns, excuse me, is what we define. So for value in this board, so for each value in row I or row and column here, so for each value in each of these lists, in each list, so as we go through this list, we check every single value. Row, so in this case, this is row 0, column 0. This is still row 0, column 1. this is row 0, column 2, and on and on and on. So as we're checking through this, the first thing we want to check is, do we have a space? So if we have a space, what are we saying? We're checking if we have a space. So we say if value is equals to, what's this thing? A space. Then we can continue. Continue, right? Next thing is we check if row exists. Check if row exists already, if row exists, or if row value already exists. And we're going to check it in our row set. So we say if value is in rows R, if that's the case, and return false. Make this smaller. If that's the case, return false. Else, what we do is we go to rows R, and then we add value. Add val. Value. I like to let's call it the value. It's a Word document. So value. Don't do break me, please. If value exists. No, what are you doing? Not value proxy, but if value exists, add value. Great. So next thing we do is we check if columns value exists. We say if value is in columns C. If this is the case, return false. No, otherwise we say columns C. We'll add value, right? Next thing, check if in board already, if board value, if board is set, or if it says already exists. What we will be doing in this case, sorry, I just have to make this a little bit smaller, hope you can see that. We say, so before we do that, we have to be able to track where we are in this board, right? So we want to be able to measure, are we in this this box, shall I say? So if in board, if in box, or sub box, if in sub box. So like I said, the first thing we have to do is we have to be able to say define what's the sub box to be, which will be row over 3 times 3 plus C over 3, right? So once we do that, it says if value is in boxes for that index, return false. I forgot, I've changed val to value. And then if it does not exist, we say boxes.idx. Let's add, what are you doing? Let's add value. I think that's it. And if this works, we say this works, we say return true. Yep, I think this makes sense. So let's see. I don't need you. I copy this. Let's take this here. But yeah. I don't need this. Oops. Let's keep it as it was. So let's remove this. Oh, no. Let's remove this. Alright, this looks good. So we have definite value. So the code n is 9. So run set for the range. Boxes are in range here with space. Let's see if this runs. Let's run this code. If value export line is what then it must be integral slash is not float. What's that? If value is in boxes IDX, what did I do? If value boxes IDX is just out of here. What's this? This indices must be integral slash is not. What did I do? Oh, sorry. I think this should be like this. Let's run this code again. Sweet. Yeah, so that was what the problem is. Let me just correct my code here. See. I really need to figure out what that means. Anyway, so yeah, this looks like it works. So let's see. Definition is value Sudoku. Row set is this file in series A, blah blah blah. Value is what's A, value is what's this. Check the rows in R, blah 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 blah. That looks good. So it looks like it worked. It worked. So let's go over that one more time. We check each row. We see 5, 3. So in each row, 5, 3. If there was a 3 here, it will fail. And once a 3 fails, it will exit out of this. If it's a space, we continue 7, continue. We go to the next one, which is to the column, which is what we're doing here. So when we've gone through the entire row, we move to the columns, and this is what we're doing here in column. So we check each column, and we check does this exist in our hash table. If we have 6, we put 6 in, check this, 1, put 9. If there was a 5 here, or this was a 6 here, to fail. So we've done the rows, we've done the columns, and we now check the sub boxes. And this is how we check the sub box. We check an index, which will show you that this will be 0. This will give you a sub box, which will be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. And then if the value exists in sub box hash, which we'll check. If that's not the case, then beautiful. Hope I didn't butcher this. Well, interesting problem. This is the value Sudoku. This is the value Sudoku board, and we've done this one too. Okay, love that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have. And the next time I wish for you is that you learn how to code, because coding is changing and will change the world. And those who get involved early, in my personal opinion, will greatly impact the future. And if that is you, let's go change the world. Thank you.
If you would like to create more awareness for your brand or content, or you would like to earn additional income, register now on www.Kleeky.com. The more you share, the more you earn. Kleeky.